Good morning. It's good to be able to visit with you again. Today is Wednesday, April 15th. Can you believe that the month of April is half over? Let's say today is Wednesday. It is April. It is the 15th. Let's put it all together. Today is Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. Now we're going to sing. You can do it your own way, and you can email me and let me know how you sang it. I'm going to tap my shoulders today. Today is Wednesday, today is Wednesday, today is Wednesday, all day long. Wednesday. I hope that you guys enjoyed Mrs. Deist reading you a book on Monday. I thought that was a great book. My favorite part was that they learned that they could all be friends with each other. I hope that you are all practicing your safety rules and staying safe and healthy. I have my tissues and my hand sanitizer here in case I need it. Thank you for sending me emails with your beautiful crafts and different ideas and stories. I really love getting emails, just like you do. Mrs. Hicks and Mrs. Deist love hearing from you and getting your messages. I made an egg. I'm trying to come up with some crafts that are easy for you to make at home. An egg is an oval shape. I just cut it out of a piece of white paper. And then I made it zigzaggy and cut it like a chick hatched out of it. Are you ready for the fun part? Peck, 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 peep, peep, peep. Takes a chick 21 days to hatch from the beginning to the end. Then it starts to crack. God put on the chick's little beak a beak tooth to help it crack out. It cracks and works with its little beak and presses with its feet and wings, and then it gets so tired it has to rest. But then eventually the chick will hatch out. I was wondering if maybe you could make one of those at home. As you see, my chick is just two circles with two eyes and a little triangle beak. I think that's something you could easily do, and that would be fun for you. Now we know that chicks are not the only ones, but I want to look with you for a minute at how it happens that a chick hatches out of an egg. After 4 days, the egg inside looks like this. You can tell that there's something happening inside of that egg. It's kind of like a miracle. God is growing a new baby chick. That's what it looks like after 4 days. Now, if the mama chick is sitting on the eggs, she turns them several times every day. And if they're in an incubator, which is a machine that turns the eggs and warms them, they'll get turned all the time as well. This is what it looks like in that egg after 7 days. That big black spot is the chick's egg, or eye, And you can tell if you use your imagination that that's a baby chicken. After 14 days, or the end of 2 weeks, it looks like this. He's not very pretty, but it is a little baby chick. And at the end, right before it hatches, it starts to grow feathers. When it comes out, it's all wet and kind of gooey and not very pretty. But it's a baby chicken. We all know that chickens hatch out of eggs. There are many other things that hatch out of eggs too. And 2 of those things also go through a metamorphosis. Let's put it on all 5 fingers. Metamorphosis, 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 metamorphosis. Here's my friend, the tadpole. He hatched out of an egg. But he's not going to stay a tadpole. After a while, he starts to grow legs. He looks like a fish with legs. That's unusual. As time passes, he grows 2 sets of legs, but he still has a long tail like a fish. And toward the end of his metamorphosis, his tail falls off, and he goes to land, and he becomes a frog. Metamorphosis. Can you remember the other creature that starts out as one thing and changes to another? I have one right here. He was very hungry. He hatched out of a little egg and ate and ate and ate, and then formed a chrysalis, or a cocoon. Then became a butterfly. I imagine you feel a song coming on, because I sure do. The fuzzy caterpillar curled up on a leaf. She spun a little chrysalis and then she fell asleep. While she was sleeping, she dreamed that she could fly, and later when she woke up, she was a butterfly. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Metamorphosis. So, tadpoles, or pollywogs, hatch from eggs. They're oviparous. Caterpillars, who turn into butterflies, hatch out of eggs, and they too are oviparous. I have a bag here. It's actually my lunch bag, but I put some more things in that hatch out of eggs. This is something that a lot of people are frightened of. It's an unusual creature that spins a web. Can you guess what it is? He has 8 legs. That's right, a spider. Spiders hatch out of eggs. Don't tell Mrs. Dolly, she's afraid of spiders. What else is in my bag? Oh, he's a creepy little guy, a lizard. He's sticking his tongue out at you. That's how he catches his lunch, much like a frog. Lizards hatch out of eggs. They are oviparous. Oh, here's a friend. We already talked about him. But frogs, all kinds of frogs, hatch out of eggs. He's colorful. Maybe he's a tree frog from another country. We don't have that kind in our country. Oh, this little guy hatched out of an egg. Oh, I might feel another song coming on. Can you get your turtle? I had a little turtle. He lived in a box. He swam in the water and he climbed on the rocks. He snapped at a mosquito. He snapped at a flea. He snapped at a minnow and he snapped at me. He caught the mosquito. He caught the flea. He caught the minnow, but he didn't catch me. Turtles hatch out of eggs. Oh, does anybody know what this guy's called? He's called a blue jay. He's a beautiful, colorful bird. The daddy birds are always the more colorful ones. The mom's wings and feathers are not as colorful because they're camouflaged on their nest. Blue jays hatch out of eggs. They are oviparous. Quack, quack, quack. This guy likes to swim. He hatches out of an egg too. His egg looks a lot like a chicken egg, but it takes 28 days instead of 21 to hatch. And if you're using an incubator, you have to spray the eggs with water. Can you guess why? Mama duck goes swimming and then comes back to the eggs and sits on them with her wet feathers. And it gets the eggs wet. So if we're doing it with an incubator, we have to spray them to keep them wet so they don't get too hard. All birds hatch out of eggs. Now, many sea creatures hatch out of eggs too. I want to read you a story. It's a great story called Mr. Seahorse. And it talks about some unusual eggs and some unusual places that creatures lay their eggs. Are you ready? Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. "It's time for me to lay my eggs," she said. "Can I help?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Why, yes, of course, thank you," said Mrs. Seahorse, and she laid her eggs into the pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. "I'll take good care of our eggs," said Mr. Seahorse. "I promise." She laid her eggs in his pouch. They're a team, the mommy and daddy. That's pretty cool. As Mr. Seahorse drifted along through the sea, he passed by, oh my goodness, it's very hard to see because they're camouflaged. He passed by a group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. It's without the camouflage, and here it is with the camouflage. Before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Stickleback?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Delightful," said Mr. Stickleback. "I just built a nest, and right away Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "Keep up the good work," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. Here's the nest full of eggs, and the dads are very involved in protecting them. What does protecting mean? That's right, keeping them safe. As Mr. Seahorse gently drifted through the sea, he passed right by, oh, more camouflage, and he guesses what might be in there? A lionfish hidden behind a coral reef. Wow. Before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Tilapia?" asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer because his mouth was full of eggs. "Oh, I know," said Mr. Seahorse. "Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs, and now you're taking good care of them until they hatch." Mr. Tilapia shook his head. "You must be very happy," said Mr. Seahorse, and he went on his way. Do you see them in Mr. Tilapia's mouth? That's unusual. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed by. Whoop, can you guess what's hidden there? More camouflage. Several leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. Before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Curtis?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Perfectly fine," said Mr. Curtis. "Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs and I've stuck them on my head. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "You do good work," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. Do you see those eggs on top of his head? Wow, Mr. Seahorse is upside down, getting a good view of that. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. Boy, I would never have guessed there was a fish there. A stonefish hidden behind a rock. He doesn't look like a very friendly fellow, does he? Before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Pipe?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Couldn't be better," replied Mr. Pipe. "Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly, and now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "You should feel proud of yourself," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. Look at all those eggs along his belly. Why do you suppose he's called Mr. Pipe? Does he look like a long piece of pipe to you? Before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Bullhead?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Tip-top," said Mr. Bullhead. "Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs, and the eggs hatched, and now I'm babysitting." "You are doing a fine job," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. Look at all those babies. When eggs hatch, there are often many of them, not just one, like a mommy would have a baby, or dogs sometimes have litters, many puppies. Everybody does it differently. The time had come for the seahorse babies to hatch. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back into the pouch. "Oh, no," said Mr. Seahorse. "I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own." The end. Which one of those unusual places that fish lay eggs did you find most fascinating or amusing? I'm not sure which one I like the best. I think I like Mr. Seahorse because he was kind of like a kangaroo in the water. Now, I have some crafts that I've made, and I've tried to make things that are easy for you to do at home. I use lots of paper plates, or I just cut circles. So, here I cut a circle, and I used paint on this one. I painted it red and black with white eyes. Can you tell what it is? Of course, it's a ladybug. Ladybugs, oh, here's the sign for bugs. Bugs hatch out of eggs, so they are oviparous. I think it would be easy for you to make a ladybug. And if you do, please send me a picture. Here comes someone else from the sea. There's my fish. It's another circle. And I cut a triangle for a mouth, and I glued that on to make the fish's tail. Then I just did some polka dots with a Q-tip and some paint. There's my fish. Fish hatch out of eggs, just like bugs. They're oviparous. Here's another guy, another circle. But I did some rectangles for legs, a triangle for the tail, and a little head with some eyes. And then I used some scraps of green paper to decorate his shell. Turtles hatch out of eggs. They are oviparous. And the last one I made is a bee. Yellow circle with black stripes. Here's another circle for the head, a triangle for the stinger, and can you tell that those are hearts for his wings? He's a friendly bee. He's not going to sting me because he knows I'm allergic. Bzzz. I hope that you guys will try to make some of those crafts at home because they're a lot of fun to do. I enjoyed reading the book to you, and I'm glad to not see you, but be able to talk to you again. Can we pray before I go? Dear God, thank you for this day. Keep us safe. Help us to follow all the safety rules and stay inside and wash our hands well and blow and throw and cough in our elbow. Thank you that you love us so much, and thank you for all of our friends in our class. Amen. Bye. I'll see you next time, and we'll talk about the letter V. V. I love you.